Hi, good evening, Malaysia and around the world. We are pleased to have with us the award-winning musician, Alena Murang. She's a professional sape player who has been making waves globally. In fact, she has just won an award at the Buenos Aires Music Video Festival. She is here with us tonight to share about her amazing sape journey. Welcome on board, Alena, and
Hi.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You have made Malaysians and Malaysia proud. Please tell us about your latest award.
So we won the Best Styling Award at Buenos Aires Music Video Festival, and we were also nominated for Best International Video alongside one of Madonna's videos. So it's a big honor to win it, and just to be nominated was a big honor. One of the judges actually is he's a director and producer for some of Beyonce's videos, and we really reference and are influenced by some of her work also. So yeah, it's a big honor to have this recognition, and it's a big encouragement also to keep creating.
Alina, when they say best styling, what does it mean?
That's a very good question. So I think styling refers to the clothes that are worn in the video by myself and by the dancers, and also the props that are used and the accessories. So the props that I used actually was just the sape in this case, and also the hair and the makeup, which lends to the styling as well.
I watched the video. It was really mind-blowing. It was really amazing.
Thank you.
How much time and resources were put in to make this fantastic video?
So the planning actually took quite long. It was about 9 months. I think we started raising funds in December 2018. Went for a recce because a lot of our team is based, actually all our team is based in KL. And we decided to make the crazy decision to shoot all the way in Barrio, our kampong in rural Miri. So the team went to do a recce in March, and then we shot in September, and then it was released in November. So the whole process took about a year, and the actual shoot itself took 5 days, 1 day in Miri and 4 days in Barrio. If we had 1 or 2 extra days, we could have actually used it as well. And traveling was about 2 days. Yeah, so it was a lot of time, energy, and a lot of resources put into it, but it was a huge collaborative effort. You know, we had partners that came on board, and between myself and Project Room, that was the co-producer, even, you know, the makeup artists, the dancers, everybody kind of, and the fashion designers, they also came together, and it was kind of a cooperation of a lot of people.
Why was Barrio chosen? Did you want that authentic feel about the place rather than to choose what do you call it, a team, what do you call it? You have that Dayak team park, something like that, right? In Kuching, you wanted to real feel about it.
The Dayak theme park, you mean Sera Culture Village? Yeah.
We call it cultural village. Yes, that's right. Okay.
I mean, for one, so Sarah, the director, and myself were both of Kelabit heritage, and Barrio is where our roots are from.
Okay.
And the song in our language also comes from Barrio. So being Dayak people ourselves, our worldview and, you know, even our songs are very closely related to the land.
Yes.
So from an artistic point of view, we wanted to show the closeness of our people, our songs, our traditions with our land. You're right, you know, it would have been so much easier and so much cheaper for us to not shoot in Barrio.
Yeah.
But I think we felt that this time it was something that we wanted to do, and it's you know, we wanted to also go back and involve our families in the process. So all the dancers are from Barrio. You know, we stayed at Sarah's family longhouse, and the family there, they were also very involved in the process, from helping to build the bonfire, to transporting us, to giving us food.
Yeah.
So it was just lovely to have all the aunties around.
So where was your video keep competing against for this category?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't remember 100% because the I think a lot of the titles are in Spanish. So I think for this category, quite a few of the other nominees were from South America. Yeah. I'll have to get back to you on exactly
No
who.
problem.
But I had a quick look at the videos as well, and I was like, wow, these videos are so beautiful.
Okay. Did you have any idea what was the impression or feedback from the judges when they see this music we played by you, and of course, perhaps a kind of what do you call it, customary journey which is not familiar to them. Did you anything about why they chose this particular video?
We actually haven't heard, we haven't had like an official email from the organizers yet. But yeah, hopefully we will. We're expecting to receive one. So no, we haven't had feedback from the judges from that festival at all. But just having the feedback from everybody else has been great. There's especially especially Dayak youths from
Yeah.
Sabah, Sarawak, and Kalimantan. They comment on the video or they send me messages, and they're really appreciative of it. I think something that Sarah and I both wanted to do, and Gabriel as well, a makeup artist. He's a young Dayak as well. We wanted to show that we don't always have to be portrayed as this outright tourism product. We don't have to be portrayed as primitive all the time.
Yeah.
And we don't have to be portrayed as, just living this like kind of totally romanticized life. We are contemporary urban Dayaks. We love listening to Madonna or Beyonce. but we also have this, we also have the input of community life, and I also love wearing my beads and my costume. I love playing sapet. So it's a kind of like merge of the two lives, kind of the contemporary and the rural, and I think in a way that really honors our times.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to see other youth kind of get what we are trying to portray.
Alena, I know that you've been asked this question many times, but I'm going to do this again to recap your journey. Can you tell us about how your journey began, playing with the sape, and where you learned it from?
I started learning dancing, traditional dancing, when I was 6. So my father, he's Kelabit, and my mother, she's half English, half Italian, and she's an anthropologist. So both of them, I think, knowing the value of traditions and culture, pushed me, actually my brother at the time also, to go for traditional dance classes. So I went when I was 6, and then at the weekends, my cousins and I, we would get together and learn dancing from an auntie, just for the sake of learning. And we had, performances at local functions and local weddings. And then when I was 11, we started to get more creative with our repertoire. Half of us cousins decided to go and learn the sape, because that time there was only one CD recording of sape from our late sape master, Tusa Padan. And in Kuching, there was only maybe 3 uncles that played sape. So if we had a show or perform or even practice, we felt like we were always using the same CD recording, or we had to depend on whether the uncle was free or not. So yeah, it was just out of a creative need that half of us went to go and learn the sape. So we were 7 girls. I was the oldest at the time. I was 11. I think my youngest cousin was maybe 7. We approached Uncle Matthew Ngao. He's a sape master, and we said, "Uncle, will you please teach us the sape?" And I only realized much later on in life that when we approached Uncle Matthew, he went back home and was thinking, should I teach these young girls the sape? Because actually women are not even allowed to touch the sape.
Oh.
Yeah. And he said to himself at that time, there was hardly anybody in his generation, my father's generation. Sapit players were quite rare, and in my generation, nobody was playing. So he said, if I know how to play this, I need to pass it on to the next generation. So yeah, we became his first students to play sapit. So I really, thank him. I guess you can say maybe he was a feminist without knowing it. So yeah, since then we learned sapit. I kept learning until I was 17, until I left Kuching. I'm still learning now, actually.
It was really groundbreaking to actually allow the women to learn how to play the sape, and knowing that he would be breaking a lot of rules.
Taboos, yeah, and it's great because, like I said back then, we were the only people of our generation playing. This was in the year 2000. And imagine now, it's so easy to find a sapit player. So it's been so lovely being part of this journey, seeing the sapit evolve and revive, I guess.
To play the sape, is there a need for you to learn the musical notes like the other musical instruments?
No, so I learned without any notes. So, and now I teach. When I teach also, I teach without any musical notes. I can read notes because I studied guitar and I studied saxophone. But when it comes to sapit, I think I still prefer the root of oral traditions. For me, it was so lovely learning from Uncle Matthew in that way. It was hard, I have to say, because sometimes I'd say, Uncle, what is this part? And he would say, you just watch me play and you copy. But now there are notations for sapit. There are a few sapit players that have come up with teaching methods, and notations are good because they document the song. But it's just not my style to learn or to teach via notations.
I read that your mom was being an anthropologist, was very instrumental in pushing you to learn about the various cultures and traditions, and of course as well as the languages of the various ethnic groups. She's a anthropologist training in what particular area?
Yeah, so my mum, her name is Dr. Valerie Mashman, and she's an anthropologist nowadays specializing or focusing in Kelabit history and Orang Ulu history as a whole. So really looking at the history of our longhouse and our people, because actually it's never really been written out. It's never been pulled together. So yeah, she's currently, that's her flavor over the last 10 years. But as I was growing up, she did a lot of research on Iban weaving, Bidayu priestesses, Kelabit weaving as well. So there was always, growing up, I had the aunties weaving at the house, or like demonstrating the local dyes like indigos and red colors and yellow colors. And she still sends me books, and I have this book here she just sent me. This thick, heavy book with with all these inside.
Very academic, I'm sure.
Yeah, poems of indigenous peoples of Sarawak. So she's really been, pushing me to learn all these things. I don't think either of them ever thought that I would take it on as a career. I think it was more like our kids need to know, be rooted in their identity. But as a career, I think they were a bit nervous me pursuing this at the start.
You know that when we talk about the sape music, it always intertwined with the traditions, the oral history. So from someone who may not be familiar with the Orang Ulu tradition, and listening to sape itself, music will of course be something that's totally new to me. I love it when I'm on board, flying the plane or I'm in Sarawak. But for someone who may not be familiar with sape music, and of course have no idea about the history, the oral history, how do you bring that alive in your music?
Oh, that's a great question. And I feel like I should do a bit of a social experiment, go up to people who have never heard sape and just ask them how do they feel. But when I was traveling overseas the last 3 years quite a bit. So I was playing at different festivals in Europe, Australia, US, and I tend to prefer playing the instrument first and then maybe explaining and giving context. And it's quite amazing some of the reactions that I get. You know, I almost always have people in the audience in tears, and they don't know why, because they don't understand the language, number one, and they don't know. I think they didn't really expect this very like humble instrument to get to them. Because when I say humble instrument, it's 3 strings or 4 strings, and you only play the melody on the bottom string, and it's only 5 notes. So, for example, if there's 16 notes on a piano, the white keys and the black keys, that gives you a full scale. Out of those 16 notes, actually Sape only has 5 of those notes. So it's quite limiting. That's what I mean by it's quite a humble instrument. Yeah, and you know, in the past, in the pre-1930s, Sape music was used for ritual healing. So it would be used to heal spiritual ailments, physical ailments, emotional ailments. And then the communities in the highlands embraced Christianity and completely let go of all of that kind of ritual healing elements. So the Sapek back then was called Sapek Bali. Bali means spirit. And we don't know much about that Sapek anymore. The Sapek we play now is called the human Sapek. So, you know, even though we don't practice those rituals anymore, I still believe that the Sapek has a very meditative element to it. And, you know, we can go on and on about how vibrations affect the body and, you know, the properties of healing music and all that kind of stuff. But I don't really read or study that part of it that much. I just know that it's this incredible instrument that can make people feel very meditative, and it just gets to you on the inside. Yeah.
Would it make sense if the Sape music is being played with the large screen backdrop of visual to show what it's like, you know, the narrative in your music?
Yeah, so the last few shows I've been doing in Europe, so last year and the year before, that set of shows we just have visuals from my kampong. So it'd just be my river up in the background. You just play the songs of the rivers, or we have like drone shots across the rainforest.
Okay.
But yeah, it definitely makes a difference. The visuals definitely make a difference.
So when you mention kampong, you refer to barrio.
So I have 2 kampongs lah. One is Barrio, and my father was actually born 100 kilometers away from Barrio in Long Peluan. Long Peluan is a very small kampong nearer the Indonesian border.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Idris Jala from the barrio?
He's from Barrio, yes.
Okay.
But our ancestors actually came from Batu Patong. Batu Patong is a village just on the outskirts of Barrio, and it's kind of being revived now. So it was, how do you say, like deserted.
Okay.
I think in my grandparents' generation or great grandparents. So now some of my cousins are going back and repopulating the area. I think like 3-4 families live there now.
Okay. Because Idris Jala keeps on telling me stories about barrio, and he tells me that I must promise him to go to barrio with him. And of course, I also made a promise to my church to go to Long Lamai. Okay.
Long Lamai.
Yeah.
Oh, Long Lamai is the Penan one, right?
Yes, yes.
So my kampong is near Long Lamai.
Okay.
Yes. So you would fly into Long Banga, and then I think you still have to walk to Long Lamai. There's no road there. Yeah, but to my kampong, you can drive to Long Peluan.
Because my church has adopted a kindergarten school over there.
Oh, great.
The teachers are paid by my church, so I told myself that I need to go there and see for myself.
Yeah, you should. I've visited the school in Long Lamai, and it's quite exceptional for a rural school.
Alena, I just want to ask you that does it make sense for Sape music to be played with contemporary music? Does it blend at all?
It can blend, but again, because I say sape is the notations are a bit limited for me because I still play the traditional sape. There are contemporary sapes now that have more notes, right? So yes, you can. For example, I'm planning for my new album to come out next year, and it has influence from rock, from folk music, from Celtic music also. So it is possible. The way that I like to do it though is to make sure that the sape is always at the forefront, and the other, I don't know what you want to call it, modern instruments, guitars, drums, bass, supports the sape rather than it's just filling in spaces for the other instruments.
You know that you told me that you listen to other mainstream pop music as well. So when you were growing up in Kuching, you were learning to play the sape, and of course, in school you're obviously influenced by contemporaries, and you tell them that I'm playing the sape. Okay. How did your friends react to that?
I'm not sure. I think, I should go back and ask them, what did you think of me playing the sapet before? I'm not sure if, number one, I'm not even sure if they knew.
Okay.
This is like in Form 1, Form 2, right?
Yeah.
Or because I'm not sure if they even saw me play sapet. But then I think my close friends must have known. I'm going to ask them actually.
Okay, Elena, at what point, after playing the sape, at what point did you say that, okay, this is it? Whatever I've learned in university, the management stuff, oh, I'm going to put it aside, okay? I've done my duties for my parents, the traditional Asian parents who has got the fixed plan for me. I'm going to be a sape professional player. What was their reaction? And what made you do it?
To be honest, I'm not sure if I completed my duties. So I did study management. I did very well. I got a first class in management.
Wow.
So, then the obvious thing is then to go get a corporate job. So that's why I moved to KL. I worked in management consulting, and I think 2 years into the job, I had foot surgery, and so I was homebound, and I went and bought a lot of paints, so canvas and paints, and started painting because I loved painting, but I had never, I just, studied until Form 5 art. So just, your basic waterfalls and crayons and stuff. But I really enjoyed painting. And then two of my colleagues at work commissioned pieces from me. So yeah, I did those commission pieces. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I would come back from work very late at night and then just continued at home painting until 4, 5 a.m. and then got up and went to work the next day. And instead of being tired, I found myself completely energized. And I think it was a series of things. It was that, and then I think I just felt, how do I say this? I just came to a point where I felt like I needed art in my life to feel complete, as cheesy as it sounds. And I decided I wanted to learn to be a painter, to be an artist, actually. I wanted to paint. So I was, so I shared this with my parents, and they kept asking me like, okay, what's your plan? So you want to learn how to paint, and then how are you going to be an artist? How do you get into galleries? I said, I don't know, because the truth was I didn't know, right? It was a completely different world from what I knew. And they kept asking me these things like for months. And I think it came to a point where I was just completely sure. I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave my corporate job now because I feel like if I stay in, I'm going to just be there for longer and longer. Now is a good time to leave. I feel like if I leave now, give myself a year, I can go back. I can apply back to corporate jobs, but I just need to do this. So I packed up. I did a 1-year foundation course in Singapore. It was a beautiful course. It was foundation in visual arts. And I felt like I learned so much more than I did at my 3 years in business school. They teach a lot of soft skills as well, observation, critical thinking, art history. So I came back after that course, moved back to KL, and two of my ex-colleagues from the firm, they actually had a world music band, and they said, "Hey, Elena, our band's been invited on tour in the US. Do you want to join us? Because we are representing Malaysia, and we need a Sarawakian representative, and another girl in the band would be great as well, because it was a band of 12 guys." And I said yes, and yeah, I went to the US. Actually, at that time, only a few people knew I played sape in KL because I didn't really perform it.
Okay.
And I think from that US tour in 2014, I saw and I learned more how to present the sape and how people were so interested in the stories that came with the sape. And ever since then, you know, I started being invited to very small shows, like little interviews here and there. And then in 2016, finally was able to become a full-time musician. So it was not in my plan to be a musician. My plan was to be an artist.
Okay. So it happens, things happens in a certain way.
Yeah, it all happened very organically.
Okay, Elena, obviously that sapi music outside Sarawak, you'll be considered a niche kind of music, more popularly accepted in world music festivals. Okay, now, so for someone who stays in Kuala Lumpur, how do you sort of like pick your before COVID-19? Okay, how do you pick your destinations on where you should play? Where would it be? How do you have an agent to arrange for you these various gigs?
So the short answer is no.
Okay.
And you're right, my music is very niche. So I sit in the world music genre, and the world music industry, it's very small actually globally. It's mostly based out of Europe with pockets, and you know, like South Korea, they have a bit of a scene there. Mostly sits in Europe. So a lot of world music musicians from Africa, South America, they're actually based in Amsterdam or Berlin or
Okay.
London.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and it's been very interesting to see and to learn how for world music, it is quite different from the mainstream music industry because we always have like a social message behind us. We have a community behind us, and for that reason, agents, managers, record labels need to be specific to world music. You know, so I haven't been able to find an agent or a manager or a record label in Southeast Asia that suits me. So I've been doing it. I've been doing it myself as an independent musician and hiring people to manage me or to do my media. So it's been quite a challenge actually. You know, I think if I moved to Europe, I might have a bit of an easier time.
Yeah.
But for me, I want to stay close to my community. So in Malaysia, I'm very much kind of skew my work towards the tourism sector or the sustainability sector, environment. That's the kind of narrative. And then overseas, it's really world music festivals.
You know, Elena, that the accessibility to music has changed so much thanks to Spotify. Now I can listen to Portuguese music. I can listen to Senegal music. You know, many of us after a while we get tired of the conventional mainstream music. We look around for the Brazilian music. You know, the African
Different
music,
ones,
and I
yeah.
think that
Great.
all of us have developed a change in our music taste, and I believe that you will take off in a very big way at some point. But you can see that the international recognition is growing very fast, and I really believe that Sape music will take off in a big way. Now,
Thank you. I hope so.
you will, okay? Now, I can see that Sape music, as in most modern approaches, there's now the essential factor of video. A video is essential for your music. Then of course, now you have the online, you have Spotify and so forth. Now, as you move towards your music, how much has video come to play to make Sape more popular and more acceptable?
It's definitely been a big factor. I mean, I think any industry, you know, video is so important these days. Um, yeah, I think, you know, not just for me, but for other Sapek musicians as well, for the professional ones, YouTube has been a great platform to learn from each other, just between, you know, me to a different Sapek player, or now, you know, there's videos of Sapek masters also on YouTube. So it's been great as to connect to each other. And then also just to, yeah, just to portray our stories and to tell our stories more. I need to get to vlogging a bit more.
Yeah.
All these things take a lot of time, right? But yeah, there's a lot of kind of ideas that I have that I want to share also through vlogs.
And it's not just music video, but the essential use of photography, you know, to make you look really good, you know, a lot of self,
Yeah.
a lot of self-projection. The old Sape performers didn't have that.
Yeah, there are a few in Indonesia. For example, Uyal Morris, he's got quite a following there, and he portrays himself in a different way as well. So I guess there's that thing like, you know, like yeah, we are representing Dayak, but you're also your own self as an artist, right? So it's interesting to see the coming of the two together, because in Sapa history that hasn't happened. Yeah, so it's it's been really interesting actually working with my cousins in video and in music on how we want to portray, I guess, myself, but also, you know, the stories. And we question everything, we discuss everything, you know, is it right? Should we be pairing this headpiece with this dress? Should we be rearranging this song in this way? Is that the right thing to do? But I think it's very important to have these discussions.
Okay. Right. So you try as much as possible to stick to the authenticity of it.
Not at all. It's more about we know what the authentic version is, and then we ask ourselves like, should we stick with that or should we change it? If we change it, how should we change it? We have to keep the rhythm, right? Or we can change the rhythm for this song. It's all about that, because, you know, when I think about it, the songs that my grandmother sang, she learned from her grandmother, and her versions, their versions in the past are different also. So my grandmother was also changing her version of the song for her time. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just thinking about all of that. And just, I think, making sure we do honor to the piece of music, or the costume or the visual, whatever it is.
You know that Alena, as tourism comes into play,
Yes.
Malaysia, my experiences, I've realized that it's easier to promote Borneo, Sabah, and Sarawak, and rather than actually Malaysia.
Oh, really?
And the younger tourists, they prefer Sabah and Sarawak because that they like nature, they like the environment. They're not interested in going to a shopping complex and see another Starbucks
No.
and all that. And neither are they impressed by these tall buildings. They don't want that. They really like Sabah and Sarawak. And these two states will always has its advantage. And a lot of direct flights now go to Sabah and Sarawak. We cannot escape from the fact that Sape music, tourism, it sort of goes together. In your work and in your performance overseas, how have you been able to promote Sarawak as a tourist product?
Yes, I'm very aware of that. Sarawak Tourism, they do sometimes support me, for example, through flights. So the way I promote Sarawak when I'm overseas is, I mean, just by virtue of my music, I am all about Sarawak without even trying, you know. It's just the sape and the songs,
Yeah.
but it's more through the storytelling in between the songs, and also at festivals. I do a lot of workshops for kids, for women, for adults. I do storytelling sessions, and yeah, I always mention Sarawak, I think, as well, instead of kind of using the sexier name Borneo. I you know, stick to Sarawak, show them the map, show them visuals, and I mean, for me, it is quite a lot about the stories from the Baram River. That's how I position the sessions. And yeah, telling them, sharing about how it was in the past, how life is now, not, you know, romanticizing it. You know, we're no longer headhunters. We're no longer really practice the tattoo culture or like the long ears, that's all. It's all beautiful tourism photos, but I try to paint the real picture, and I say, there's a lot of people like me that live in the cities. Most people speak English. Yeah, I think just painting a very real picture. Yeah.
Alena, you're also involved in the community projects. I think it's called Art For. What do you do on that?
Yeah, so when I left art school, actually, this is how Art 4 came about. Those two bridges that got in the kampong that got swept away by a flash flood, and three bridges, and these bridges led across river to everything that was needed: the farms, the solar farm, as in paddy farm, solar farm, graveyards. And so I fundraised through paintings to rebuild these bridges. So I came up with this name Art For because I always wanted to make sure that I used my art for a social cause. And over the years, we've pivoted, adjusted, whatever you want to call it. And we're now called Kanit Studio. Kanit means cousins.
Okay.
Yeah, Kanit means cousins. We've pivoted to Kanit Studio to focus more on production work. So production work that tells, actually not just production work, but any projects that brings heritage into the contemporary realm. And through that, we do work with communities, or either that or either a portion of what we earn gets channeled back into community projects. But now we focus more on kind of the research and documentation of songs and folk songs, music, and when it's needed, donating to longhouse fires, to floods, and to education, so children that need support to go to school.
Alena, you have ended 2020 with in a rather pleasant way. It's been a great Christmas gift for you to win an award, as well as
Thank you.
great Christmas gift. As we move forward to 2021, I just want to wrap up this interview with a question for you. What do you hope to achieve in 2021, and what are your plans with your Sapi music in the coming months?
Oh gosh, what a year it has been, and I think I've never had to think about that question before in a completely different way. But I really hope that I can continue to work together with my team to create more music, more videos, just more meaningful art, and for that to be listened to and to be watched. And I hope that in the second half of 2021, I hope live shows will come back, because we really miss having live audiences, and we really miss that connection and that energy that we get. So I really hope that we can be back on stage again.
So are you flying back to Kuching for Christmas?
Oh, that's a tough question because there's quarantine in Kuching. So if it lifts, I'll definitely be home for Christmas.
Thank you very much, Alena, for joining us tonight.
Thank you so
And
much.
finally, please remember to like, follow, and share Alena on social media and RealChunWai. Good night and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.